finally, the feature that all Tesla drivers wanted for years, I would say since 2013, is in this release that's rolling out to the entire Tesla fleet. There are a lot of other really cool updates and features that were added. We'll show it to you guys like in the next few minutes. But this one, as a matter of fact, if you bought a car since 2013, that car probably of yours, that's not Tesla, has that feature. Some of your refrigerators have that feature, but now Tesla it has it as well. I've been begging for it for a while. Unfortunately, I don't have a Tesla, so how am I going to do all of this? Well, I know normally Eli is here on the weekend, but we decided to have him have his Supercharged with Eli Burton segment taped today because, you know, the feature just came out. All of you guys want to know, and he has it already. He's been playing around it for all night, from what I understand. So we're going to get all of this information from the source. Essentially, and of course, don't forget, Tom Malogny is going to be here along with many other, but I mean here, I mean still on the channel on the weekend, not right now. Tom is not here right now. We're just going to hang out with Eli. But don't forget about all of the other amazing contributors that we have, like Sandy Monroe, the CEO of Faraday Future, Karsten Breitfeld, Roger Atkins, and of course Rich Rebuilds. I'm really excited about all of them, but right now it's all about Eli. By the way, if there was ever a reason to subscribe to this channel, you should do that right now. And if you already have, click on that subscribe bell notification icon so you don't miss anything moving forward. And of course, a quick reminder that this video and this channel is sponsored by Byte, and check out their all-electric SUV called Ampbyte. If you haven't reserved one, I really don't know why not, because it takes really $0 to put down to reserve one. About a minute of your time. It's a quick form. You can find that form. There's a link in the description of this video. So join myself and tens of thousands of other people who have already done that, so you can have your button reservation. All right, so let's talk to Eli, and he will explain to us everything that's happening with this update. Eli, tell us about all of the features that you enjoy, but specifically, let's talk about this new feature that all of us have been waiting for.
Alex, yes. So last night was a very exciting night. It was about 1:30 in the morning. I was about to go to bed. I was working on editing a video I'm actually going to release later this week. And then I get a notification on my phone that I got the update, the big update, the one everyone's been waiting for. So I did the totally irresponsible thing, and I stayed up all night to play with it and capture footage to share on my channel and here with your audience.
All right, well, so the one that I'm excited about, I don't know if you've been anticipating it for a while, but literally every single car on the road has it, and it is the freaking text messaging. And I wasn't kidding that some refrigerators have the text messaging where you know, it will read it out to you out loud and you can talk back. A lot of cars already have Apple and Google Auto, you know, apps that do the same. Tell us what has Tesla's done, and we're going to show a quick demo that you've taped at, I'm assuming, 4 o'clock in the morning.
So what Tesla has finally pushed out is the capability for your car to handle text messaging. And by that, I mean by voice. So if you get a text message come in, it will read it to you. You have the option for it to read it to you. And you can select a reply option and use voice to dictate a response. So Tesla has officially joined the rest of the car world, and you can now use voice to text.
All right, let's check it out right now.
Here's my test message.
Eli says this is a test message.
All right, look at that. It works. Hey, Eli. Thanks for sending the test message.
All right, so and then it sends it. It's just so simple. It probably looks as simple as it was to make. Any idea why in the world they've decided to do all of this amazing, complicated features, you know, and all this time, including the self-opening and closing doors for the Model X and an autopilot, and somehow this has slipped through the cracks. Why?
I don't have a good explanation for why this slipped through the cracks. The only thing I could imagine is there wasn't more vocal requests for it than there were for other things. But like, this seems like such a simple thing that if it doesn't have, which people coming from other cars would have had, because almost any other car that people had has a capability, are going to be like, huh, that's annoying that that's not there. So I don't know why it took that long to do, because again, based on the voice capability it already had to detect voice for some other features, it didn't seem like that much of a stretch at all to add this in. But hey, I'm glad they added it now. And probably what's more interesting is that they decided to do this as part of a very large batch of feature releases, right? So instead of like kind of spreading these out over the last couple months, they really decide to drop a present in our lap, so to speak, just in time for Christmas.
Yes. So let's talk about those features because they're also not very small. This one has been way long overdue, but there are quite a few other ones. So let's take it away and we'll show some videos of that as well.
Yeah, so one of the fun ones too that goes along the line of voice is now the vehicle has a number of voice commands that it can accept. I think you have a video here you can even show as well.
Yep, let's go.
Show me the rear camera.
Now look at that.
There you go. Voice
yeah,
commands.
so that was just one of many that you can do. You can say pull up the rear view camera, which that one like shocked me how like it did it almost immediately and the efficiency it did it with. You can have it do things like tell me where the nearest supercharger is, navigate to so-and-so location, search for Joe Rogan's podcast, which is one of the examples I did. Although funny enough, in the release notes, they give the example of search for Joe Rogan's podcast. Joe Rogan's podcast is not in the Tesla's library or whatever library that's tied to. Yeah, he doesn't show up. I think if I'd been logged into Spotify, he'll show up on Spotify because everyone's on Spotify, but Stitcher or whatever it is, Joe Rogan's podcast didn't.
Wow. All right.
You know what's even worse is I was going to use the example and I searched the Tesla Geek Show. Guess what? My podcast is not playable in the Tesla.
That is definitely a bug in the system. I am convinced. All right, let's talk about some other ones. And I know there's like traffic lights. You can actually like see traffic lights, but it doesn't actually stop or whatever. It just kind of shows you that they're there, which is, you know, a first step to the full self-driving.
So this is literally what kept me up at night. And literally, so the reason I really stayed up last night to test this out was to see the sneak preview of full self-driving. And effectively what we got to see today and are seeing right now is a sneak preview of what will be street level autopilot. And then eventually street level autopilot will become full self-driving.
Yeah, so, and we're showing it right now. So when the light switches from red to green, it's actually switching right there from red to green.
And I did a number of tests. I did these very late at night, so I can do this in a way that, you know, wide open streets. I can tell there's nobody on the road, but I did some tests to see what would happen if I had an autopilot and I had it approach either a red light or a stop sign, and I didn't override autopilot to stop, and it went crazy. Like it flashed red lights at me, it beeped, it, you know, showed the brake pedal and was like demanding me slam the brake pedal. So it's detecting these situations. Now, again, it's a preview. That's why it's detect only. But the fact that it can now start detecting these objects, and in my tests that I did last night, it detected them 100% of the time. That is a big step towards now having the vehicle say, okay, I'm detecting these things. Now I'm going to start responding to these things for the user. So this is a really great sign and huge progress towards that street level autopilot, but then ultimately long-term full self-driving.
Now, what also I saw in that visual is that can now see the garbage cans on the side of the road. What? Really?
So thankfully it was trash night in my neighborhood, because that was the first thing I noticed when I pulled out of my driveway is like, it almost was like identifying the trash cans like all the way down the street. Like it was identifying trash cans further than I could see, which by the way, it's funny too. It's great at identifying cones as well. Like it'll see cones like the other side of the freeway that I swear there's no line of sight, but it can see the cones. Same thing with the trash cans. It picked up like all the trash cans in my neighborhood almost immediately.
Wow. And I like that. So I wonder how it's different from like actually they're the garbage cans. I wonder how it's different from like just boxes and stuff like that. But listen, that's great stuff. And I love it. I mean, so essentially right now this is just toys, right? Meaning like, oh, you know, it's there. And it did give you a warning when you were trying to run a stop sign, which you didn't. But this is essentially what they're practicing right now on you guys, right? So, but it's going to be probably the most important sort of a milestone of the full self-driving suite for Tesla.
No, this is major. And I know a bunch of people are complaining and like, and here's where the complaints are legitimate. Anybody who has 2.5 or 2.0 autopilot software does not get this preview.
How come?
They will not get, the preview does not work. You have to have 3.0. And when this does translate from this preview to actual full self-driving or even street level autopilot, which Tesla is considering part of the full self-driving package, until they get that retrofit, they're not going to be able to use the feature. So now that they've released this preview, pressure is going to start mounting and will continue to mount on Tesla to really scale up the retrofit. So it's one of those things that it's like, it's great for that they put it out, and I'm excited I got it, but now there's a whole bunch of people who are going to start, the villagers are going to start getting unsettled the longer it takes from now till they get their hardware upgrade. And the longer ago people bought it, especially the AP 2.0 folks who bought it 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, they're the ones sitting there getting the most frustrated because they want it now. And, and I completely understand, because when I bought my first Tesla in 2017, I bought full self-driving because I wanted it on day zero. And I guess it was a naive hope that, that the people who bought the cars initially were going to get retrofitted before it rolled out. And it makes sense logistically that there's going to be some time that it takes to do, right? Because there's going to be 150,000 cars. They've got to have an hour or so appointment to swap the hardware. But yeah, I definitely understand people's frustrations on that. And I think it's going to put a lot of pressure on Tesla to get that program going. And I've got to figure that they're already working on the logistics, and they took this into consideration when they rolled out even this preview, because they knew as soon as they put something out that only works on 3.0, anybody who's promised it's going to start demanding.
Yeah, and I mean, I gotta tell you, this has been my problem with Tesla all along. My first one was from 2012, and they've been kind of doing this thing where the car kind of supposed to stay up to date, but only if it's like been purchased in the last 2 years. Anyway, but I've heard there's another thing that people have been noticing is that the car really wants you to keep your hands on the wheel and eyes on the road this time around. Did you notice that it was a little bit more restrictive, or just kind of mentioned it a little bit more?
So I haven't tested it on the freeway since the new update yet. I stayed just on side streets last night. Prior to this update, at least what I had found is that on the freeway, it wasn't being overly restrictive. It was actually being more moderate and more manageable. On street level, though, I've always found that my experience with the autopilot is that the slower speed that you're going, the less naggy it is and the less often it's giving alerts. So I think I did get an alert yesterday on one of my tests, which I think did surprise me, and you see it on one of the videos there. But again, I didn't do enough testing or do enough freeway driving to really get a sense how much they've improved the nagginess.
All right, so that's we'll probably continue getting more and more people either complaining or loving it either way. So now there's a few other interesting features that they've had. Now, one of them, I remember this being also, I would say this another overdue feature, is that when you get into the car with your fob, it used to recognize very basic stuff about you as a driver, even though I kind of figured it would be an easy software thing to do. But now they've added quite a few things to your driver profile. So when you get in, you can load all of those features, and it kind of customizes it for you, especially if there's another person like your spouse or whatever in a household. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so they really expanded the list of things. And in fact, they now have a screen that will show you all the things that are included as part of the driver profile. And practically every useful setting or important setting that you'll have will be tied to your profile. So when you get in the car, things will be really just the way you left it. And that's well beyond just your seat position and climate control. So this is a really great touch, so that, when you go from vehicle to vehicle, or you have different drivers in the same vehicle, that you can keep your comfort settings the way you want them. And I think that honestly, like, it's a small thing, but I think for a luxury car, this type of thing is expected.
Yeah, I totally agree. So that's why I kind of mentioned, I feel like this should have been there pretty much from day one. Software-wise, it shouldn't be that hard to do. But there are a couple of other things that are pretty interesting. And one of them, I know the Essentially Mode feature and the dash cam feature are not perfect, but they added something very interesting that I have to say that I haven't seen on, like, I had three different dash cams in the last few years, and I don't remember them having this feature. Talk a little bit about what they've added to that.
So I do got to say first, the Tesla dash cam, and my experience with it has been exceptional. Like, it captures everything. Sentry mode is capturing everything. If anything, Sentry mode may be a little too sensitive in capturing things like tree branches blowing. But the update they made to dash cam is that you have the ability to turn on a automatic record feature, which is save dash cam clips on honk. So if you honk your horn, it'll put that as a marker, and it will save the clip around that time period in its own separate saved folder. And that's awesome because, if God forbid something happens, you've got some forensic footage of it. But even better when you're telling your friend about, hey, this jerk that, you had to honk at on the way home from work because they did something dangerous, you literally have a folder to go and directly pull up that video. So I expect that one of the results of this is we're going to see a lot more footage of drivers acting poorly around Teslas, simply because that footage is now going to be a lot easier to find.
Though I have to say then, but it also kind of gives you more incentive to honk, which is not always the best idea, because like I kind of like honking, but I haven't been doing it as much just because I feel like I'm putting myself a little bit more of a dangerous situation when I honk on someone. But it is definitely a good feature. Now, let's move on to the...
And, I really don't think it'll change behavior that much, because usually when a situation comes that you need to honk or not, you're not really having the time to think about, oh, hey, I want to save this video. It's much more of a reaction to the situation, right? Where you're like, oh, this guy's about to hit me, or this guy's stuck, or this guy's being a jerk. It's like, it's much more of the, like, you trying to convey the honk. And it's just a byproduct that you also get the recording of it.
All right, now let's move on to the last notable feature. There are quite a few other ones, but this one is one of the funner ones, which is the, what is it? I'm calling it a piano app, but what is it? What is the real name, and what does it do?
It's a full-on like mixer app. And again, I have no idea how to mix beats or anything like that. I do know the keyboard a bit, but yeah, they added this new mixing capability so that you can make your own tunes while you're in the Tesla. And this is pretty cool. And I have a feeling we're going to see some talented people. I bet there's going to be some actual major artists that make an entire track from their Tesla that we'll see come out in the near future now that this exists.
Yeah, this is pretty much like with artists that took advantage of this sketchpad that Tesla already has. This is definitely very cool. So what are the cooler features there? Is it like a full featured mixer app? Like what are the cool features there?
So from my perspective, it is fairly featured and you can do quite a bit of things. I mean, there are some limitations to it. I don't see like the ability to import or download custom sounds, but you have the ability to choose different beats, choose different tracks. You can add keys into it. Now, again, you're working on a small screen, so there's a limited range of key, like 1 octave that you can work in keys. I think it's actually slightly less than an octave. But yeah, you can actually mix music. And again, if you want to do something complex, it's going to take a while, but I already know there's some music geek out there who's already hammering away on doing the Super Mario Brothers soundtrack or theme, or we're going to see some fun stuff come out of it. But again, I can't speak too much to the depth of feature set because this isn't in my area of my expertise, but it's very clearly seen that there's enough that if you're going to be persistent, you can put out some cool sounds.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. All right, I know there are quite a few other features but I thought they were the main ones. And of course, the text messaging, that is going to make, first of all, it's going to make everything safer for people, but I think it's just the convenience feature is really, really awesome. So I'm glad they finally rolled it out. All right, before we go, of course, don't let people know how they can find you, and also tell everybody how your latest awesome project is going, because I know I got a copy of mine, which actually is in my car. Because I was going to read it today, but go ahead.
Yeah, so you guys can find me if you guys want to see what I'm doing on YouTube and see the full video that Alex featured some of the clips here. You can see it on my YouTube channel at My Tesla Adventure. Personally, I'm also very active on Instagram and Twitter. Instagram under the handle My Tesla Adventure, and on Twitter under Eli Burton _. But the most recent project that I have launched is episode 2 of The Adventures of Starman. And actually, Alex, my copy is currently in my car as well. Because when I was filming this video at 4 a.m. last night and stayed up the entire night, I thought, you know what, if I'm going to spend the time and lose sleep tonight to make this video, I might as well feature my new project in my own video. So I actually left it in my car because I showed it off in the video. But neither of us have a copy to show. But
yes, we should have rehearsed this, but we really wanted to put this video out as soon as possible. So we're both in between our Christmas stuff, but we wanted to make sure to get it done. So, but the link is in the description of this video, man. Thanks so much for joining me. Of course, hope you have a Merry Christmas and a great holiday season. I'll see you next Sunday, but enjoy all of these awesome features.
Well, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you, Alex, and most importantly, Merry Christmas to all of your followers.
Absolutely. All right. It's always fun to have Eli. I know we're having him kind of earlier this week, but the whole week with holidays is all kind of messed up. And I just thought it would be a perfect time for to show you guys these features. I can talk all day long, but this is something that he was able to experience obviously throughout the night, throughout the sleepless night. So I thought it was awesome to have him over. By the way, thank you to those of you who watch me live on Patreon. That's one of the perks on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/e4electric if you want to contribute to the show and get this perk. Thank you so much. You know, I'm a full-time YouTuber, so this really does matter to me. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Click on that subscribe button. And if you already have, boom, the bell notification icon. That way you won't miss anything moving forward. All right, I am looking forward to all of your comments. Let me know if you've experienced these features, if the text feature is really as awesome as it really needs to be and convenient. Other than that, see you next time, and remember to stay charged.